Hello? 911? There's a man refusing me access. I demand immediate assistance, she shouted, her voice dripping with arrogance. Meanwhile, inside the dispatch office, Sarah Green answered calmly, headset in place, scanning the screen. A complaint popped up, Karen's frantic call. Sarah paused, recognition flickering across her face. Her husband's address flashed on the call log. Karen didn't know that the man she was trying to intimidate, her target of the complaint, was married to the woman on the other end of the line. Sarah smirked, steady fingers poised on the headset. Authority, patience, and love aligned. The HOA's arrogance was about to collide with a force they never imagined. Personal, professional, and completely unstoppable. Karen stormed up the driveway, clipboard clutched like a shield, heels clicking against the concrete with practiced authority. "Open this gate immediately," she barked at Marcus Green, who stood calmly on his porch, arms crossed, watching her theatrics unfold. Marcus didn't move. He didn't even flinch. The camera above the gate tracked every step, every flare of Karen's face. "I'm sorry," he said evenly, "but this is private property. You may not enter without an invitation." Karen's lips curled into a sneer. "I'm the HOA president. You will comply." Behind the scenes, her phone buzzed. Without thinking, she dialed 911, her fingers trembling with indignation. "Yes, hello? There's a man here refusing me access. I need law enforcement now." On the other end, Sarah Green, Marcus's wife, adjusted her headset and blinked at the call log. Her heart skipped. Karen's address, matched with Marcus's home, lit up her screen. A deep breath, steady hands. She clicked open the call, voice calm, professional, unwavering. 911, "What's your emergency?" Sarah asked. Karen's indignation poured out in a torrent. "There's a man harassing me. He's refusing the HOA president entry to his property. You need to send someone immediately." Sarah's calm voice cut through Karen's fury. "Ma'am, may I have the address?" Karen recited it, unaware of the silent recognition on the other end. Sarah's lips twitched into a barely perceptible smile. She knew exactly whose address it was. Her husband, the man Karen was trying to intimidate. Meanwhile, Marcus stepped onto the porch, glancing at the camera, and then at the gate. He had anticipated Karen's next move. She thrived on confrontation, thrived on public displays of authority, and she had underestimated him. Again, back at the dispatch office, Sarah kept her tone professional, but inside, a strategic plan was forming. She listened as Karen continued to escalate her complaints, every word betraying her arrogance. "Ma'am, is anyone in immediate danger?" Sarah asked, feigning procedural neutrality. "No, but he's hostile. You have to come now," Karen snapped. "Understood," Sarah said, maintaining perfect calm. "Can you describe his behavior?" Karen launched into a barrage of accusations, describing Marcus's refusal, his aggressive stance, and even his polite smile, which she twisted into a supposed threat. Marcus watched from the porch as the camera caught every inflection of her face. He didn't need to call anyone. The evidence was already being recorded. At the dispatch center, Sarah quietly began noting the call in detail, logging every exaggeration and false claim. Her authority, combined with her intimate knowledge of the situation, gave her complete control. Karen's calls continued, frantic and escalating, while Marcus prepared for the eventual confrontation. He didn't need to shout or make threats. He simply ensured everything was documented, the gate's camera, the porch camera, the 911 call, and waited. By the time local law enforcement arrived, guided by Sarah's professional but discreet handling, Karen had already trapped herself in her own web of arrogance and misinformation. Marcus smiled faintly. The HOA had escalated, and he had everything he needed. Karen didn't even realize the force she had called for was already in his corner. The tension stretched taut across the street, ready to snap. Karen's downfall was imminent, and the balance of authority was about to shift in the most satisfying way possible. The wail of sirens echoed down the quiet street, though not for Karen's imagined emergency. Officers pulled up, lights spinning, confident and professional, but calm, measured, and entirely in control. Marcus Green stepped onto his porch, hands folded, exuding authority that needed no badge to command respect. Karen's jaw dropped. I called the police. You can't just. Marcus smiled faintly. I know. Inside the dispatch office, Sarah Green monitored the unfolding scene, headset snug, voice calm. She had handled the call, recorded every word, every exaggeration. She knew precisely what Karen had done and had already flagged the call with the local precinct as a false report. Her husband stood ready, every camera and recording evidence perfectly aligned. The officers approached cautiously. One of them, Officer Patel, glanced at Marcus. Sir, you're Marcus Green? Marcus nodded. Yes, and before you ask, I've documented everything. The gate cameras, porch cameras, and the 911 call. My wife handled that part. Karen's face turned crimson. Your wife, she? Yes, Marcus said evenly. The dispatcher on your call is my wife. She documented your false claims and ensured the police were informed before you escalated. Karen stammered, searching for an excuse, but every gesture she had made was captured. Her clipped orders, her arrogant sneers, her exaggerations of threat. The officers exchanged looks, clearly impressed by Marcus's preparation and calm authority. Marcus stepped down from the porch, hands still at his sides, letting the evidence speak. Every movement measured, every expression controlled. Karen had tried to weaponize law enforcement against a private citizen, unaware that the citizen wielded a far more precise and powerful form of control. The lead officer, a tall woman with a sharp gaze, addressed Karen. Ma'am, filing a false report is a crime. Misrepresenting threats to law enforcement is serious, and we will be issuing citations. Karen's smug confidence evaporated instantly. Marcus's calm voice cut through. You underestimated both law and preparation. You attempted to bully a man under the assumption that authority automatically sides with arrogance. You were wrong. Sarah's voice came over the radio, professional but firm. I've logged every statement and call detail, officers. This was documented from start to finish. Neighbors began to gather, some filming, some whispering. Karen's humiliation became a public spectacle. The HOA president who had believed herself untouchable was now exposed. Her claims proven false, her authority crumbling. Marcus turned to Karen, letting the weight of calm authority settle over her. Respect the law, respect others, and never assume control is granted by arrogance. The officers began to escort Karen and the HOA board members to document the incident. Each citation, each recorded word, was a nail in the coffin of her dominance. Marcus finally stepped back, scanning the street. Cameras recorded every neighbor observing the scene. The lesson clear. Arrogance has limits, deception has consequences, and true authority lies in preparation, calmness, and truth. Karen had called 911 to assert dominance. Instead, she had walked straight into exposure, her hubris dismantled by the very system she thought she could manipulate. Marcus Green remained calm, collected, and victorious. Authority had been restored, the law had been respected, and the neighborhood had witnessed the perfect, satisfying reversal of power. The HOA's reign of intimidation ended that day, not with force, but with quiet, precise, undeniable control. By mid-morning, the neighborhood had become a scene of undeniable accountability. Karen stood on the curb, clutching her clipboard uselessly, flanked by a few board members who now looked sheepish and uncertain. Every word she had shouted, every false claim she had made, had been recorded by cameras, by dispatch, by Marcus himself. The real officers, professional and calm, began issuing citations for filing false reports and misrepresenting threats to law enforcement. Karen's smug confidence was gone, replaced by disbelief and humiliation. Neighbors gathered quietly, whispering among themselves, their previous unease at her authority replaced with relief and admiration for Marcus's calm control. Marcus stepped forward, hands relaxed at his sides, radiating the quiet authority that had defused the entire situation without a single aggressive action. "This isn't about punishment," he said evenly. "It's about accountability. Authority is earned through respect, not assumed through intimidation." Even the HOA members who had supported Karen began murmuring apologies, realizing how deeply they had been complicit in her arrogance. Their power had been dismantled, replaced by law, logic, and a clear understanding that intimidation would no longer dictate neighborhood dynamics. Neighbors approached Marcus, thanking him for handling the situation with poise and preparation. "We didn't know what was happening," one woman admitted, "but you ensured it never got out of hand." Marcus nodded. "Preparedness and calm can prevent chaos," he said simply. "It's a lesson for all of us. Respect, patience, and lawfulness always prevail over arrogance." As the officers escorted Karen and the board members to document the incident, Marcus returned to his porch, surveying his street. The sun cast long shadows, the hum of everyday life resuming in the background. The balance had been restored. His cameras, his wife's vigilance at dispatch, and his own patience had transformed a potential confrontation into a demonstration of accountability and justice. Karen had tried to wield law enforcement as a tool of intimidation and failed spectacularly. The HOA's reign of self-importance was effectively over, their authority dismantled by the combined power of calm, preparation, and truth. Marcus's presence reminded everyone that true authority comes from respect, not fear, and that those who underestimate others often pay the steepest price. By evening, peace had returned. The neighborhood hummed with life, neighbors talking, children playing, and the reassurance that order, fairness, and dignity had been preserved. Marcus leaned back in his chair, satisfied. Justice had been served, and calm had triumphed over chaos. The HOA had tried to manipulate power. Marcus Green had shown them how easily it could crumble in the face of preparation, truth, and quiet authority. Days after the confrontation, the neighborhood felt lighter, almost as if the air itself had shifted. Karen's failed attempt to assert control had left a lingering lesson. Arrogance has limits, and truth always finds a way. Marcus Green walked along his driveway, sipping coffee, watching neighbors return to their routines. Children played safely, dogs chased balls across lawns, and the hum of sprinklers punctuated the calm. Neighbors approached hesitantly at first, then more openly. "Marcus, we didn't realize what was really happening," one man said. "Thank you for handling it calmly and professionally." Marcus smiled faintly. "It's not about winning or losing. It's about ensuring respect for each other and for the rules that protect us all." Even HOA members who had supported Karen approached quietly, offering apologies. They had witnessed firsthand the consequences of arrogance unchecked by law or reason. Marcus accepted their words with quiet authority, knowing the lesson would resonate longer than any punishment. Sarah Green, Marcus's wife and the dispatcher who had quietly managed the 911 call, appeared at the gate with a smile. "Looks like order is restored," she said. Her calm presence, combined with Marcus's steady leadership, had prevented chaos from spiraling out of control. Marcus gazed at the street, now serene, imagining how easily it could have gone differently. But preparation, patience, and quiet authority had transformed a moment of potential conflict into a lesson in accountability. The neighborhood had seen firsthand how arrogance crumbles under calm precision and evidence. By evening, Marcus stood on his porch, the sun dipping low, casting golden light over his home and street. He reflected on the events, realizing that control isn't about shouting louder or asserting dominance. It's about being prepared, knowing the rules, and trusting in justice to do the work. Neighbors waved as they returned home, a new sense of trust and respect in their gestures. Children's laughter echoed across lawns, a testament to the restored peace. Marcus felt a rare, deep satisfaction, a calm that came from knowing fairness and dignity had been upheld. He looked toward the gate, now closed, secure, and a silent symbol of boundaries respected and lessons learned. Karen had tried to manipulate authority and failed, while the neighborhood had witnessed the power of integrity, patience, and quiet leadership. The street was peaceful. The law had been respected. Community trust had been rebuilt. Marcus Green, calm and unwavering, knew that the impact of his measured actions would resonate far beyond the events of that day. The HOA's arrogance had been dismantled, replaced by a cautious humility. The neighborhood had learned, quietly but irrevocably, that authority earned through preparation and respect far surpasses any claimed through fear or manipulation. Marcus leaned back in his chair, letting the evening breeze wash over him. Peace had returned, justice had been served, and the neighborhood, stronger and wiser, would never forget the day quiet authority prevailed over arrogance.